Pompousness is a word as well. It's just used in different contexts. Your pompousness, pomposity.
Stop pompous explaining everything.
I love using words like that. It suits me. Hello everyone, welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 374, the Drunk Duck Quackcast. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tancerine. Hi, Tance.
Hello.
And Pitface. G'day, Pit.
Hello.
See, I didn't give anyone silly titles this week, or superlatives.
Not feeling silly.
So we're going to talk about selling yourself and selling your work. So we'll touch on aspects of covers and all that kind of stuff. But we already talked about covers a few weeks ago, but we're talking about other aspects. We're talking about selling your work through what you do. And covers are part of that, aren't they? They are.
Mm-hmm.
Irreversibly. Irrevocably?
Irrevocably?
Yeah, that's it. Some words you can pronounce fantastically in your brain, but they don't come out of your mouth for some reason. Oh, damn it. Irreconcilably? So that's what we'd be chatting about. But first, I'll have to talk about the featured comic. Well, Kwai will have to talk about it, actually. Here is Kwai with the feature. The feature is Soon. Take it away, Kwai, with Soon.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Soon by Raining Bells, and it is rated M for mature. Everyone wants a piece of the boy named Soon, pronounced like June. Watch as he teeter-totters between human societies and alien societies. Hopefully, he does not get caught. The art is drawn mostly in black and white using traditional hand-sketched methods. Make sure Soon makes it out okay and read Soon by Raining Bells, rated M.
And that was our feature from Quackcast, Zoon, or however it's pronounced. I'm sure Kwai would have told us. So thank you very much for that, Kwai. Okay, so next up we have the featured music by Gun Wallace. And this week Gun Wallace has given us the theme to Coward of Valor, which is a rather interesting title. It's a modern yet medieval sounding tune. This tune strides in with great pomposity and deigns to dance for us. It pirouettes and swoops in all its beauty and extravagance, then exits stage left with as much flair. So please listen to Coward of Valor. Thank you, Gun Wallace. And that was our tune. Gun Wallace, thank you very much for that, Coward of Valor. And the comic is by King Young Comics, rated E. And he actually wants to change his name, he told me. He wants to change his name to King Young, I think. So I have to get back to him about that. Anyway, so thank you very much for that, Gun Wallace. Okay, so now selling yourself, guys.
It's the only way to make it in the comic book industry. You have to take yourself out to that corner. You gotta put on something that makes you smell a little nice, a little less like pizza trash, and shave your legs. Only half your legs, though. The full legs only happen when they pay full price. You got to be $5 and up to get the full leg.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, which half?
Eat some breath, some Tic Tac.
Hitch up those fishnets, and that will cover the rest of the hairy part of the leg. You know, the Quackcast actually sounds weird without Baines' background noises. Are you finding that?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. It's weird. We need someone to be making a birdhouse at the moment on their desk. Oh no! Maybe I don't miss it that much. Oh God. Yeah, you have to sell yourself in the comic world. Now, people do it in a whole variety of ways. Tance, you have recently been, you mentioned the cover, but we'll talk about that in a second. But you have recently mentioned doing the Twitter stuff, haven't you? So what are you doing with Twitter?
Wait, I personally, I don't actually remember how I got into the whole Twitter thing. The only thing I remember is that I was told that anyone with a serious intent has one or whatever. And I said, okay, whatever, I'm going to get one. But when I decided to start working on the comic in a more serious manner, in the terms, like I've always considered Without Moonlight seriously, but as a hobby. Now I'm trying to do it, quote unquote, professionally, treat it as a job, have a specific schedule, meet certain deadlines, not fall back, and you know, all that sort of, the approach is the thing that changes rather than, you know, the comic itself. So since I decided to do that, I told myself that I'm going to get over my innate reservations about, blowing my own horn.
Yes.
And I would get out there and tell people, look, I have this comic. It's going to probably not entertain you, but maybe it will, you know, make you think or whatever. And, you know, go look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did discover in Twitter is that there is a very, very lively and growing community of interconnecting, mutually promoting creators and hubs of creators, doing even more promotion and even more dissemination of comics, something that I have not seen in Facebook at all.
Yeah.
Like there are pages like the Drag Tag, you know, page in Facebook, but they don't have this dynamic feeling of, you know,
sharing.
It's not a sharing per se, it's that the nature of Twitter with the hashtags puts you immediately, you know, your every tweet gets into lists upon lists upon lists of things. And everyone that tweets with the same hashtag basically creates a bigger network and gives more exposure to everyone's tweets in a sense.
Yeah.
Like the more, so it has this snowball effect feeling that is going on there. And I have definitely seen the results. People do know Without Moonlight more now, and people do appreciate it more now. So, which is very, very encouraging. So, but I needed to work on it very systematically for perhaps the better part of 6 months to start getting this feeling of, you know, people are paying attention when I tweet about my art.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like I'm shouting with a bullhorn into the desert, and nobody cares.
Yelling into the wind. Yeah.
Yes. you keep at it, and then not suddenly, gradually, you stop hearing your own self, and other people, tweet back.
Wow, so it's no longer just an echo. There's actually a voice. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's one of the things about starting off with promoting yourself through something like Twitter. You start off very, very slowly, don't you? And you have no one, even when you're first putting a comic up, there's no one commenting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting no response and nothing, and gradually it builds up. But we're talking about selling yourself, yeah. So, Twitter, exactly. If you stick at it and you learn the ropes too, you learn how to use hashtags, and you know what hashtags work, and you build up friends and other connections, then you can slowly grow your little tree, can't you? And branch out.
Yeah. And now is the golden, I think, time frame and window of opportunity to get out there in Twitter. I think that Facebook is waning a lot. Unless something happens, I think it's going to sort of, become still water in a sense, and not be where the new things are and the new stuff is happening. But now you don't have to work at it like I did, because there are, accounts that are hubs designed to get your comic out there and get yourself noticed far more quickly and far more easily than just being, on your own account and doing it on your own.
All right, you won some.
And that's what I'm trying. Sorry, that's the thing I'm trying to do, and I think it's happening with Drunk Duck Twitter account, Twitter account, and it's working.
Yeah, you're building it up through us, turning the Drunk Duck account into that sort of a hub, exactly, to promote Drunk Duck comics and all sorts of stuff, which is a fantastic idea. What about that voting competition you won for the promotion? Was that through Twitter?
Yes. So, I'm a Greek. That means I'm poor. So I cannot really afford paid advertisement, even though, it can come very cheap. So there are certain events where you can win free advertisement and get more exposure for your comic. And one of those, very recent one, are the Mojo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well. The webcomic Mojo thing. So you have to get your fans and get your readers to vote for you. And if you get, first slot in votes, get the free advertising. And today I actually won it in 2 categories, which is a big reward for all the work done. And I really feel that I now need to reward my readers far more.
You already do with your marvelous work and frequent updates. So, that's all you need to do. The frequent updates is the main thing. That's the hardest thing an artist can do. Yeah. So that can be a huge boost when you're getting advertising, especially free advertising. And what you're doing there is you're building up a network to support you, which is really what you have to do when you're trying to sell yourself. You can't do it all yourself. You have to be able to get help from others. And that's how you really get the boost, when you've got that gestalt sort of effect. I think that's the right term.
Yeah.
Or else I'm being pompous. You need more people to partake.
Yes, exactly. But for people to partake in your stuff, you have to partake in theirs. And that's the other thing, that you have to put work into promoting other people's work, so that in turn your work also gets promoted when you need it. Because if you get like, okay, everyone come serve me. Everyone come and retweet my stuff, and then everyone come do my thing for me. But I'm going to just, flip you off and not, bother when you need it. That's not gonna work.
That would be
You're not
entertaining,
gonna
though.
get called out on it, but I have seen people just, fall slowly to the sidelines. People slowly forget them.
Yeah.
Although they might have very good art and very much of a good thing going, because they are not circulating and pumping new blood themselves into this mill.
True.
Yeah.
Pitt, sorry, was Pitt saying something? I couldn't hear.
I didn't say anything. No.
Oh, no worries. It just looked like it. Yeah, that's one of the big things. A lot of people will do that. Will expect people to come. They make their comic, and they set up their Twitter account, and they expect people to come and do the work for them. And it's just not going to work.
No.
Well, there are some other aspects. I mean, outside of Twitter. Well, let's see. Before I get off the Twitter subject, there's also Emma Claire is working with you, isn't she?
Yes. I wanted to mention her because she is definitely bringing in her game as well, and we are going to do the Twitter event together. It has been her idea, not mine. Although I did have it in my plans, I wasn't feeling confident, but she just, came and said, let's do this. And I said, okay, let's do this.
Right.
I'm going to be confident because you're confident. And we are holding a poll as we speak about the hashtag that's going to be the chat hashtag for the DD, the Drag Twitter event. And go vote if you haven't. Get a Twitter account and let us, retweet your stuff everywhere as you answer questions. And people will see it because they are very popular events. So get there, do it.
Exactly, join in. I think you can do some of that on Facebook, but I'm so inept with these things that I really don't understand how to do it. So yeah, hashtags and all that. I tried it once and wasn't any good at it, so I quit. Yeah, I think that's, although to be fair, most people on Facebook don't really use hashtags because it's just not a Facebook thing. So take it to Twitter where it belongs. Get out of it. Get out of Facebook. So
I don't know how hashtags work on Facebook at all. So
there you are.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. You have tags on Facebook as well. Like you can tag people, but half the time that doesn't even work. You start typing someone's name and nothing comes up, so you don't even bother. You start typing the name of a page or whatever. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So screw you, Facebook. Screw you. Twitter does it best. So there are other aspects of selling yourself that have been brought up. Most recently, you talk about covers. Not exactly in terms of selling yourself, but that's really what it is. So what was your problem with your cover?
I hate it right now. I used to love it, and I still have a nostalgic fondness for it, but I don't think it serves the comic as well as it should. Like, I know that people that are, Greeks and history buffs will definitely get the symbolism there, and they will know exactly what it is about. But nobody else will, and they are a very, very narrow part of the audience I'm shooting for. So I need to create a new cover for the volume 1
Oh,
of
that's
Without
interesting.
Moment that I want to do, which is going to be all the 4 chapters that I have finally finished, together with the extras and some historic extra stuff, and assorted little tidbits that I want to add in there. So I think it needs to be catchy, like get the attention, hold the attention, like get across very quickly what it is about, make the reader want to open it and live through it a little bit. And I don't think that this cover does it as much as it should.
Yeah, because that's what covers do. They sell the work in certain contexts. I think Pitt talked a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, it was only a few weeks ago, about how webcomics don't really need it as much as printed comics do, because they're in a comic shop maybe, or in the old days on a newsstand or something, needed to attract attention to the work. And maybe you couldn't open them, all you could see was the cover. So the cover was really important. Are you intending to print Without Moonlight? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, it is going to be like, I always intended it to be a print comic as well. But I also intended, to have it in high resolution PDF form, and just have it as a unit. That is also going to be a reward for patrons and things like that, as I now have moved on to the second volume, basically, because I have started into chapter 5, which is the first chapter of the second volume. And the part I always wanted to go to when I started 8 years ago. So hopefully with the schedule and the regime that I have put myself in, if nothing, disastrous happens over here, I will be able to finish faster, I think, much faster than volume 1.
Oh, God. Well, hopefully, yeah.
Make everyone happy, I think. So there's that.
Well, yeah, so this is another aspect of selling yourself and selling your work. So you're doing it you're creating it in that format. You're promoting the work in that format. You're selling yourself through Patreon. You're packaging the work, so as a PDF or also as print. Print will allow you to get to different audiences that perhaps webcomics don't reach, which is always good. And also the PDFs, like I say, that packages the work in a certain way, but that allows you to also distribute it in another way, because a lot of people don't like to click through web page after web page after web page looking at comics. They like a whole thing in a nice, neat package, so you can link those people directly to a PDF, not just your Patreons, but whatever other people who are interested in your comic and you want to share it with online, maybe through other formats. I don't know, maybe you could sell it through Amazon, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm going to explore all of that as soon as I have the product in my hands, virtual hands anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely going to look into these things as solutions and as ways to reach more people. So I can't very much bypass the need for a cover that will stand out, for example, in a list of covers in an issue, or from a list of covers in a carousel, in a feature, in a blog that features comics and stuff like that. I want people to just click on it.
Got to know the context with which it's going to be displayed. Exactly.
Yeah.
In order to... that's a good idea. It's very tricky, as I wrote a comment underneath your latest news post about that. It's very tricky to create a cover that encompasses an entire project. It's easy to create chapter covers because they can do whatever. Chapter covers, you can be experimental. You can talk about, you can give a preview of what happens in the chapter because it's encapsulated and it's small. So it's very simple to do that. But to properly explain the entire comic or to capture the feeling of an entire piece of work in a cover is so tricky. You know, even if you think in terms of, okay, look, I'm not going to capture the feeling of everything that happens in the comic. I'm only going to feature one exciting scene maybe. Which exciting scene from the comic? Which event best displays the comic best and
because
also
yours
is
don't
exciting?
want to spoil anything, right?
True.
On the cover should spoil things. Because, for example, I remember when designing the cover for my second book in the fantasy trilogy, there was this amazing scene, very epic, wizard battles and the elements going berserk all around, and having the bad guys that are like all sorts of very colorful tribes and everything. But I would have, and if you have read the first volume, you would know immediately what it was. I would have basically spoiled two big elements that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I couldn't use them. I had to use something else.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I did the same. I didn't do the same, but I thought the same thing when I was doing Pinky TA. The most exciting thing, from my perspective, when I first started, it was the fact that they had these trompers, these mechanical battle mechas that walk around and fire machine guns and missiles and all that kind of thing. And to me, that would make the best cover. But the whole thing in the comic was, at least in the start of the comic, was the fact that you didn't even know they walked and were, that kind of a machine until quite late in the comic, because they start out as like a submarine or something like that, and it's not until a while until that happens. So it was impossible to show that on a cover. And in the end, the cover of Pinky Tao was just an old illustration that I'd done of Pinky and Cece. And it's just, it's okay for a webcomic cover on Drunk Duck, but for a printed cover, it just would be incredibly dull. You'd have to do something else. So certain covers they can sell your work in different contexts. The cover I've chosen, shows Pinky's bum, because it shows her from behind in her famous famous trousers, and Cece in all her glory from the front. So that works in a way to sell the work. Sex sells, that kind of thing. That's fair enough. That's okay for this particular setting, but it doesn't really tell you much about the story at all. It doesn't tell you anything. Although that kind of thing can be enigmatic, and enigmatic things can work in order to attract readers. That's another way of doing it.
Yeah, but provided these enigmatic things are in themselves interesting enough for someone to want to know more. That's the point. Like, okay, what have we got here? I want to know more about this, even though I might not be aware of what the main gist of the story is going to be. Like, if you could have had just the tromper, for example, and the lady with no seat in her pants. And that would definitely have people picking it up, because although it doesn't really convey much from the plot, you have a woman with her bum out, falling out, and this huge, very sophisticated spaceship-looking thing. So, space opera and bums. I want to know more.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got to be able to choose your thing right. But say, for Drunk Duck, this particular thing worked better. Now, if I was sticking on Amazon, another particular way of selling it might be better. Maybe a sex sells approach isn't appropriate for Amazon. You've got to think about that. Or maybe it's not appropriate for the kind of readers that you want to draw in. You don't want to give them those kind of expectations. I think Baines covered that in his one of his news posts called "Selling the Sizzle," I think it was.
Yes.
So it's the idea, you don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle, you sell the something about it. So he was talking about, say, in terms of Star Wars, they had promotions surrounding it, not necessarily a cover photo for the new Star Wars movie, but they had promotional stuff with interviews with actors and promotional photos of actors getting together. I think it was the original trio of Carrie Fisher and
Mark Hamill and
Harrison Ford. That's it. I was thinking George Harrison. No, he wasn't in that. Something else. So it was that original trio, and he was thinking, oh wow, this movie's going to be great because it's going to have like the original people from the first Star Wars movie, and that great relationship, and we can see how that relationship has developed in this, this new movie. We can see how things have progressed and what has happened in the last 20 or 30 years since the movie first came out, 40 years, or however long it was. And that to him was a false promise because they don't have that at all. There's none of that relationship. Everything's changed, and it's a completely false advertising. So he felt cheated. So, yeah, it's important not to do that with your own work. You don't want to cheat people and make them feel resentful that doesn't show up. I remember feeling that with the older comics. That's why I never really got into printed comics myself, because you'd pick up a copy of, I don't know, Judge Dredd or Superman or whatever else, and there'd be this beautiful cover. I mean, marvelous, full color artwork that some bastard has spent like 3 weeks making in his studio. This beautiful piece of work, and then you open the comic and it's all in black and white by some other artist who's no relationship to the cover artist at all. And you look through that work and you think, oh God, I don't want this. It's false advertising. Well, I wouldn't even think of terms of false advertising. It's just, this isn't what I bought, or this isn't what I want to read. I want to read about the thing on this cover here. I don't want to have anything else. I don't care about this black and white work. It's not that black and white work is bad. I just was sold on the cover, and I want that. I don't want something else. It's a cheat. It's
definitely.
If you've ever seen, back in the 1980s, they had these fantasy films. So Conan the Barbarian was really, really big in like the early 80s. And that sort of brought about this whole wave of fantasy movies. And a lot of them were straight to video. They were crap. But they used classic artwork from Frank Frazetta and all sorts of people, and Boris Vallejo. These amazing barbarian scenes depicted on the covers. And the movies were terrible. You never got what was on the cover. You never got this fantastic, beautiful scene on the cover. You had this terrible piece of crap that was made in a studio for like, $300 with someone's rented video camera. It was garbage. And yeah, that really turned people off fantasy for years until, the digital the digital CGI revolution came in, and with Lord of the Rings and stuff, and finally we had a renaissance in fantasy movies. But covers can be really disappointing. You don't want to disappoint your audience, I think, by selling them something that's wrong. I think that's a pretty well accepted thing.
I think that.
Oh, go on.
No, go on.
No. I'd finished.
I was going to say that definitely give a hint about the tone, as I said in the article. Like, if you're going to have a very grim story, like for example, like what I have in Without Moonlight, people get scragged when you don't expect it, and other people get maimed, and other people get completely messed up by things that happen, and you don't get much relief from that.
Yeah.
So, signal this in your cover, because not everyone wants to be in for that sort of thing. Like, if you're going to have Schindler's List, don't put the Inglourious Bastards cover on your work. That's what I mean to say. Or definitely don't put the Hogan's Heroes one. Because then what you're going to have is people that might get a far bigger extent of the impact that you have prepared in a way that is going to be to make them resentful because they didn't sign up for it. Because when I sit down to watch Schindler's List, I know what I'm in for. I don't expect to be pampered. I expect to be put through the ringer emotionally. Yeah. So I get exactly what I signed up for. If though, however, I go in to see a Tarantino film and, I just want to see brains flying on walls and cool sword fights and smart dialogue, and instead I get melodrama and tragedy in the sense that doesn't exist in those movies, then I will be pissed. I will not be open to the message. So that I think also happens with covers. Yeah. I remember when I was a teenage, early teen, preteen, I think, maybe 11, 12, around there. So I was very much still into cartoons. And I picked up this anime movie that was called When the Wind Blows.
Oh, right.
And it featured, two very nice, cute-looking couple, a very cute-looking couple in a nice countryside.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else on the cover that I had seen at the time. And I remember getting, my heart ripped out from my chest cavity with that movie, because it was about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and how people got a slow, painful death with no help from anywhere.
Yeah. As the radiation sickness took over.
I had no idea. Like, I didn't sign up for that. I wanted a nice cartoon, slice of life, flippant, and easy watching, like kind of like easy listening. And I didn't get that. So I remember being I didn't watch anime for a very long time after that, because I was angry that I wouldn't know what I was in for going in.
Yeah.
So
I had a similar experience. I read the comic. It's the original comic of that. And it slowly gets worse and worse and worse, doesn't it? And more tragic. And then it's just so sad. So very, very sad. Because there's an old couple. And he cares for his wife and she cares for him, and then, she dies and there's nothing he can do and there's no help coming from anywhere. And he's always sort of promising her that, help's going to come and everything's going to be all right. And they told us what to do, and, we paint over the windows and we do this and we do that, and nothing helps. In the end, no one comes and they die alone. It's just so awful. I thought that was English, by the way. I didn't think that was about Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
It was it wasn't set in those cities, and it wasn't, about Japanese people, but basically it was that. And it was an effort to put the Western audiences, maybe, I don't know, into that position.
Well, it's made in the
how
1980s, so there was a big scare about that kind of thing. Yeah, but and you're right about the whole yeah, you have to tell people, you have to inform them properly of the tone of the thing that you're going to see. Not that, audiences are so stupid they're not able to take this thing. It's not that at all. It's the fact that what you mentioned, audiences are quite willing to appreciate all sorts of stuff. But if they're not in the mood for that, they're going to hate it. If they don't want to see that particular thing at that time, they're going to come away with a completely negative experience from it, which maybe they wouldn't have had if they were in the mood to watch something like that and really get into it. So that's the big thing. Maybe they would love Schindler's List normally, but if you sold Schindler's List as like some kind of ensemble comedy, they watch it. This is shit. This is the worst ensemble comedy I've ever seen. There's been no farces, nothing. I haven't seen one boob in this whole film. It's so depressing. So yeah, that's a big thing. You've got to give people a hint, and perhaps on what you're talking about with the Without Moonlight cover, perhaps that has an aspect of that a non-Greek person doesn't necessarily get that is going to be a very full-on kind of a story from that particular cover. You do get hints of it, although, yeah, perhaps you need to... I don't know, with your cover, you could possibly just edit it a bit, or maybe do a new version of the same thing and just highlight some of the features a little bit more. So maybe...
Like?
The cover shouldn't be so... it's in sort of pastel-y, muddy colours, but they're more sort of bright. Maybe make it a bit more tertiary greys, a bit higher contrast. So, shadows are a bit more hard-edged, and have it so you can really see the fact that Basil has a stump of an arm, because that's a bit faded at the moment. Maybe he hasn't got an arm there, maybe he has, and like the scar should be especially visible, that kind of stuff. You can still see it now, but you can very easily not really see those things as much. So that's the kind of a thing, just hints that this isn't like a happy family kind of image. He's suffered damage to reach this point. So that's the kind of thing. You've got the dark shadows, the dark clouds over the Parthenon, over the Acropolis. Yeah, that's a good guide. But everything in the foreground is in bright sunlight. So
yeah, and there are a lot of things, like, as I said, I still like that cover, and at the time when I made it, it was like my magnus opus. I hadn't created anything that I felt was as good as that cover at the time. Now, looking at it, I can see almost everything is wrong with it in my eyes now that I see. And of course, I hadn't been used to drawing my characters at all at the time. Like, they were very new to me in their character designs and everything. And yeah, that what you said, if I redraw it, maybe it will work.
Yeah.
I think it's a little static. But maybe because a lot of people talk rather than run around.
Yeah.
Maybe I should leave them to be static.
Well, it has the deliberate feeling of a photograph from a happier time that someone's taken. So this is a snapshot of people who know each other. They have a family connection, and that's the feeling that it has. So, yeah, and even with the title underneath, that has that feeling as well. It's a title. Yeah, you could make it more if you wanted to increase that snapshot effect, you could even do it in make it look like a colorized black and white image. So you want color in there because the comic's in color. It'd be a terrible, fooling your audience if you did it black and white, and also, you wouldn't attract as many eyes. But yes, you could make it look like a colorized black and white image, which is quite easy to do. You just draw the initial thing. If you want to do it seriously, draw the initial thing in shades of grey and then colorize it underneath. That can work.
Now that I would have to say that FitFace is texting us her ideas, and
she's too shy to speak.
But now that you guys have been my sounding board and brainstorming with me, how about if I have this as an actual black and white photograph with the very traditional white borders, like a border frame when they used to print the old-timey photos at the time, they were on very hard paper, and usually it had a border of white around the photo.
With a typewritten caption from a typewriter.
Yes. If they wanted to make it into a postcard, definitely. And have it like as if it has been thrown on the ground, and have like a blood.
Good idea.
A sort of blood.
A footprint, maybe. Yeah, blood's a good idea.
Not make it a footprint. I can make it like blood having spilled on it. I'm not as good.
A Nazi boot print, a jackboot print.
That would be awesome, but I don't feel I can carry that. I'll try. I don't think.
Oh, it's so simple. All you need to do is you look up footprints if you wanted to do it, and then you get an image of it, and then you just do you stick on a faded image of it over the top. So it's just a faded image, as if it's only just staining there, so you can tell what it is, but it doesn't obscure the art.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a hard thing to do.
And because that will give the tone, like you have, blood on the streets, which is, the point of the story. It's not at the front. You have the occupation through the footprint, because it's going to be definitely that it's like a military boot that left it, and it's the photo of the characters from a better time.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. And
Thank you, guys. I'm going to try it. If it comes out nicely, I'm going to definitely on the inside of the cover say like inspired and suggested by this.
You don't have to credit us. We give our advice away for free.
Yeah, but I want to, because this is like, and that's another thing. I think that people should brainstorm together and be sounding boards to each other without feeling self-conscious. That I didn't think about it completely on my own, so that's like that.
That's a good point. Yeah, things should be collaborative, or that it's not that they should be collaborative, but you can only reach so far by yourself. You need other people to sort of give you that boost and to help you go further, and give you that extra advice to really put it over the top. Oh damn! I'll just. Sorry, guys. I'm just setting up the notes for this damn Quackcast, making sure they'll display on the right day instead of tomorrow, like it was set to display. Covers. I'd like to print Pinky TA eventually, and I'd like to do a nice cover that encapsulates the whole thing. And the trick is to think about all the different fields you want it to be sold in, you know, like I was saying to you. So the like PDF, digital art version, printed version, you know, all that kind of thing. They're going to look different. Advertisements as well. So if we're talking about selling yourself, ad banners that feature your comic. What do you feature in the ad banner? I mean, just it really that I've done that before, and it really depends on where you're going to feature, where you're going to sell it, how you're going to sell it. So if you are selling your work at sites that are mainly about war, which, you know, you would do for Without Moonlight, and I might do for Pinky TA because there's a lot of war in there, you'd depict things that reflect the war. So you might have German helmets and guns and all this kind of thing. Maybe a scene of a sniper, all that. For Pinky TA, I have explosions and machine guns and all that, you know, tanks and all that kind of thing. That's how I sell it on, you know, in certain environments. In other kinds of ways, I'll feature Pinky with her, you know, great posterior on show, and that will be the way I sell the work. It really depends on the forum where the ad's going to be shown and how you're selling it too.
You have to pay attention though, because if you advertise it with the posterior and people go expecting porn, they're going to be pissed. So...
Well, that's the thing, yeah. I mean, it can depend on whether you are willing to wear that for the few readers that will stick around. So you might have like 300 people going and checking out your work, and you know that 280 of them are going to piss off, but 20 of them might stick around. But that bum is going to draw in the crowds. So yeah, maybe you'll do it like that. You'll be willing to piss off some people in order to get in some that will be willing to look past it. So yeah, it can depend on so many different factors. Have you tried to sell your work through advertising?
Have I tried to what?
Sell your work through advertising.
Yes, but as I said, my budget isn't big enough to be able to give it enough of a chance, like to be evaluated.
Yeah.
As okay, yeah, I did this and it worked, and I did this and it didn't work.
Okay.
So yeah, I have tried doing some, you know, advertising through Facebook, like having those paid posts that appear, you know, in people's feeds and everything. And there has been, like, theoretically some traffic directed towards my comic, but mostly to my comics Facebook page.
Yes, that happens, doesn't it? Oh,
so
geez.
I don't know if that is satisfactory, because, you know, people feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to like this page and
Yes.
click, I'm liking it. But then have you even realized that this is like a link to a webcomic? You're supposed to go and read the webcomic. Like, I don't want you to just like my page. Please, you know, go read it. That's the idea. So I don't know. If I, you know, fork over more cash, maybe I get conversion rates that are better, most likely. But I'm still too poor for that.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
The Facebook thing is interesting. I think maybe the way to go with Facebook would be to move the whole ecosystem to Facebook. So that would be where you put your comic, and you'd show your comic on your Facebook page, and maybe that would get more engagement through there. But then, how would you make money off that? Or, you know, then you'd be stuck in that ecosystem. That would be the problem if you move things to there, because then you're stuck with Facebook's tools in order to promote yourself, and Facebook blocks the people who like you and will actively bury your page and your work, and only expand that if you pay more money. So Facebook holds you hostage which is a real problem. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. Perhaps there could be something there, but it's dangerous. It's so dangerous.
The most that I have seen, like in results in traffic from advertising, was through Project Wonderful.
Yes.
When I had the money to pay for like a couple of days, I did get more traffic. So there's that. If I did it like systematically for a month, maybe I would have had, I don't know, 40, 50 new readers. But again, advertising takes some cash. Like it will put some kind of a dent in your resources, especially if they are very thinned out. So that's why I have been trying through Twitter to get, as much exposure as I can, and also to get, the free advertising stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that. And also I haven't explored other ecosystems like Instagram or Tumblr, and I don't even know what these things are. So there's that as well.
Yeah, there are possibilities. It's unfortunately we as creators and working people only have so much time in our days to be able to produce comics and sell comics and make our money and all this kind of stuff. It's very hard to learn different apps and different systems of doing things and be able to promote our work in all those different things, because it takes hours and hours to be good at various things, and you just haven't got that time as an adult working person to do that. You can only specialize in, Twitter is where I'll put all my energy, or Facebook is where I put, some energy as well, and my comic. You can't do Tumblr and DeviantArt and Instagram and LinkedIn and, all these different forums. It's just too hard. There's too much. You spread far too thin. Well, you could do that and then not have any other life. So I personally think it's better to pick a couple and specialize, and maybe keep abreast of what other people are doing, and say if they tell you, oh yeah, you really should do this, and then do a bit of that, you really, really, really should do that instead. Maybe then you can, pick up this new thing and do that, whatever new system coming along, but don't automatically think you should spread yourself so thin and end up having a lot of dead accounts all over the place that never update, because that's what happens to all of us.
Yeah, don't train your audience to expect you to not deliver. That's never going to be good for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think I've done that. Actually, weirdly, I'm getting a whole bunch of likes on my Pinky TA Facebook page, and I haven't updated that. I haven't updated my comic in months, and I haven't updated my Facebook page in forever either, and yet I'm getting all these likes. So I'm starting to feel more and more precious to update a new page, because why are these people liking my work on Facebook?
Maybe they're trying to train you into actually, doing something.
Exactly. It goes both ways. It does. Exactly. Oh, well, I think this has been a productive chat with you, Tance, about the selling your work.
Yeah, very much so. And for me, it has been extremely productive, because now I know what to do for my cover. Hopefully I will make it good enough to match the brainstorming and the description. So now the suspense is that. Not what will it be, but how good will it be?
Yes, how will it turn out? Well, that's interesting. You'll have to study old photos and see how, see if you can get the good look for it, a theme. And see if you can master that. All right. So there we are. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Quackcast number 374. This has been the Drunk Duck Quackcast. Alright. Goodbye.
Bye.